Hi, my name's Aaron Curry, and today I'm going to be showing you how to dig up houses that put 4 times more money in your pocket because they profit from cash flow and 2 other ways. Today's video is the second in a 4-part series revealing the proven high-performing property sourcing strategies that my team use to uncover £100 million worth of discounted deals every month, and that my team use to buy 30 to 40 properties per month, month in, month out. I'll show you how you can use the most powerful sourcing strategies to dig up at least 5 discount deals a month for yourself with only 1 hour a week of your time. And as you'll discover, many of these proven high-performing property sourcing strategies are free to start using. So you don't need much time, you don't need any money, and you can start buying discounted deals at the most profitable time in over a decade, while other investors wait for news of a housing market crash. Now, before we go any further, I just wanted to explain why the video quality is not quite what I'd want it to be. As you know, we're in the middle of a second lockdown and we can't let people in our houses. So I normally would work with a videographer. I can't do that. It's just me with my laptop and a webcam. So if you want to know the proven high-performing property sourcing strategies that are free to use, so you can buy discounted deals at the most profitable time in over a decade, while other investors wait for news of the housing market crash. And if the information is more important to you than the video quality, then you're going to love this 4-part video series. Now, in the first video in this series, I covered what I mean by off-market deals. And I covered what I mean by the market is actually falling. You're reading in the newspapers that the market's booming potentially, or you're seeing articles that say the market's on the rise. I covered how it's not. And I showed you examples of at least 60 properties that we have agreed to buy during November in this period, off-market deals with discounts varying from 5% up to 20% discount. So if you didn't watch video 1, the truth is you won't find discounted deals through estate agents right now. They will tell you what you've read in the paper. They'll tell you that house prices are booming, but you will find discounted deals with the off-market sourcing secrets that you'll learn in this video series. And the first video will show you the 2 sourcing strategies, the 2 main sourcing strategies we used this month to find most of those 60 discounted deals that I've talked about. So if you haven't seen that first video, what I'm suggesting is you press pause on this video, come back to it, but press pause. And somewhere around this video, you'll see the link. Go watch video number 1 first of all, so you can see exactly how you can source those off-market deals and the 2 main strategies that take you not long to put together that allow you to do that. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to dig up houses that put 4 times more money in your pocket because they profit from cash flow and 2 other ways. A side benefit of buying these houses is that they are much easier to manage. So if you'd like your property journey to be much more profitable with less hassle, you're going to love this specific video. Now, before I show you my golden rules to buy houses that put 4 times more money in your pocket, let me show you some examples of what can go wrong when your only rule for a good investment property is a discount on purchase, which was the only rule to property investing success that I had 20 years ago when I started my property investing. I was like, just has to have a discount. That's all I knew. Needs to have discount, needs to have discount, needs to have discount. So let me give you an example. When I started investing in property, I wasn't interested in creating a property job for myself because I already had a demanding full-time job. Property had to be a passive investment strategy that would one day give me the ability to quit my job and never worry about money again. Maybe you're in the same place. So from day 1, I ran my property business like a passive investment. Unfortunately, I took the idea too far. Far too far, far too soon. You see, I didn't go to view the houses before I bought them. Why not? Because it was an investment. I wasn't going to live in the house and I wanted to make a decision based on numbers and not emotion. The easiest way to keep emotions out of a property purchase is to not view the house before buying it. The difference between what I call a home buyer and investor is that a home buyer thinks with their heart. If you're looking to buy somewhere for you and your family, You're looking to create a nest somewhere safe to live, somewhere where the local school's really close by and there's great local shops and you think the kids can play out in the streets. Which part of your body do you think with? You think as a home buyer, you think with your heart. But an investor should be worried about the numbers only. The numbers only. So most people have only ever bought residential properties to live in. You might be the same. So when you're buying that residential property, it's a hard decision. You think with your heart because you want to build a nest. You want your family to be safe. That's why it's a hard decision. Once you become an investor, it's all about the numbers. What discount are you getting on the property? But that's not the only question. What's the cash flow going to be? What's the capital growth going to be? What's the demand like when I look to rent this property? It's all about the numbers. If there are 20 other people interested in renting this property, doesn't matter whether I want to live there or not, because 20 other people want it. If there's a green carpet and I don't like the green carpet, but 20 other people want to rent it, doesn't matter that there's a green carpet. Does this make sense? So it's all about the numbers. So I had a financial background 20 years ago. I was a financial manager with Marks and Spencer's. And then after being that, I was a mortgage broker. So I got numbers. I thought, you know what? I'm an investor. I know about numbers. How hard can this be? So the second investment property that I buy for myself is a house in Leeds, in an area called Chapeltown. You may or may not know it. And the property's up for sale in an auction. Now, I didn't even go to the auction, mistake number one. I bid on the telephone for the property. And that's how confident I was in my investment approach. The guide price is £20,000 and the rental income is £6,500 per year. They've split this house into 2 floors. This 3-bed house. So there's one person living on the top floor, one person living downstairs. And because of that, the rental is £6,500 a year. I'm like, this is unbelievable. This is a 30% return on investment. It's a no-brainer deal. The cash flow is 30% ROI. The house has got 2 tenants living in it, as I said. Looked at the pictures in the auction brochure, checked the tenancy agreement, all looked amazing. So I bid at the auction and I get the property, win the property, as I would have said in those days. It's not a flipping competition. Win the property for £21,000. The income was going to be £6,500 a year. It's a dream. I want as many of these dream houses as I can get. So I buy this property in Chapeltown and I live about 70 miles away in Scarborough. And I write to the tenants and say, hey, I'm the new landlord. Can you start paying the rent directly to me? They're on housing benefit. Can you just let the housing benefit office know? That's all they need to do. Walk to the office, walk back, let them know I'm the new landlord. Nothing happens. So I write to the tenants again. I don't have their phone number, so I couldn't call them. Still no rent comes in. Eventually, I realized that I'm going to have to go to the house and speak to the tenants. But I'm in a real busy job at the time, so I really didn't want to do this. One Sunday afternoon, I finally go, I've got to go. And I drive from Scarborough to Leeds and I go. And I take my son Adam with me. So my son Adam at the time is about 7 years old, 6, 7 years old. He's sat in the car with me. And we pull up outside this property in Chapeltown. Now I'm looking up and down the street. And every single house on the windows has burglar bars on them. I've never been in an area like this before to stop people breaking in. And up at the top of the street, there's a gang on one corner and a gang on the other corner. So I get to the house, I pull up outside the house and I'm like, I don't know what to do with Adam. Do I take Adam in with me to this house with burglar bars on it? Do I leave him locked in the car? What is it that I should do? Now, I eventually make the decision to leave him locked in the car. So I kind of scurry to the front door and I knock on the front door. I keep glancing back to where Adam is in the car and no one answers. And I ring the bell that's broken and keep knocking. And eventually someone kind of lets me in. And I find that the ground floor is totally empty. The carpets have been taken. Looks like they disappeared ages ago. And there's some kind of drug type paraphernalia littering the floor, needles, things like that. I've never come across this before, but it's all over the floor. And all I can do is kind of shake my head because I bought the house on the basis that both rooms are rented. I've just lost half the income instantly. Now I make my way upstairs and I'm shouting, hello, hello. I know someone's there because they just let me in. And I get upstairs and I walk into what's their lounge area. And there's these 6 big guys sat around and they're just unbelievably chilled. Yeah, it's obvious that they're high. Well, you can tell from the smell in the room that they're high and what it might be. And I ask, who's the tenant? Who's it? It takes me about 3 minutes to get anything out of him. And eventually I get, yeah, man. Yeah, man, that's me. That's me. Great. So you must be Richard. Richard, I just need you to go to the housing benefit office tomorrow and ask them to pay me the rent instead of the old landlord. I'm the new landlord. Would you mind doing that? Yeah, man. Yeah. I'll go tomorrow, man. I'll go. They're totally stoned. Totally stoned. And I know this is never going to happen. Never. Now, I rush back out of that house because all this time I'm nervous as heck for Adam outside. So as I'm leaving, I look at the back garden. And the back wall is really high, about 10 foot high, and it's got barbed wire across the top of the back wall. That wasn't in the photos from the auction. Until that moment, I'd never given much thought to what hell looked like. I stood there shaking in the garden, looking at the barbed wire on the brick wall, and I knew I was in hell. That is where I had arrived. I bought this property thinking it was going to make me a fortune. I've now got a property that I definitely don't want to own, and it's making me not a penny. And I'd leave the house hoping, praying that Richard's going to speak to housing benefit and I'll finally get some rent. Now, the next thing I do, by the way, on the Monday morning is I call my builder about the downstairs and I say, hey, downstairs derelict, there's lots of drug stuff around, so be careful. A few days later, the builder goes down, he calls me, he says, Aaron, there's no way I can work on that place. It's like Beirut. If I park my van there, somebody's going to steal it. The downstairs is full of needles. My team can't work there. So I've got this amazing property that's making me a 30% ROI on paper. The reality is it's making me nothing. In fact, it's a negative ROI because I'm paying the mortgage on it. And I'm clueless about what to do next. Now, a few weeks later, I get a call in the middle of the night. I'd sat there for weeks. I just didn't know what to do. I get a call in the middle of the night. They wake me up. It's one Saturday night, and it's the fire brigade. We're at your property in Chapeltown. There's been a massive drugs party, and your house has been set on fire. The house is completely burnt out. I'm sat in Scarborough. I'm not sure what you want me to do. The fireman's like, you can't do anything. It's done. It's done. We've put it out. It's done. It was meant to be a great investment. It's cost me money from day one. Now I've still got to pay the mortgage. I can't even rent the house because it's burnt down. And it's going to cost me a fortune to repair. Needs a new roof, some new windows, everything replaced inside. To cut a long story short, without boring you with the rest of the story, I ended up putting the property back in the same auction I bought it from. I just gave up, put it back in auction. I never went back to the house again. We've got some photos of the house to show the burnt out condition for the auction, and I wanted to get rid of the problem as fast as I could. Now, something amazing happened. This will not happen to you, so don't follow my path of my early days. The property market had risen. The insurance company pays me out £6,000 for damages to the property. How the heck you meant to refurbish it for £6,000, I don't know. Nowhere near the cost of repairs, but the property sells in auction for £20,000. I bought it for £21,000. I end up getting £20,000 plus the £6,000. I make a profit. What's the moral of the story? It isn't within the profit. That's not when you learn the lesson. You've got to view houses before you buy them to make sure the downstairs is not a drug den, moral number one. But you also need to think like an investor and not a homeowner. So always look at the numbers, but remember within the numbers, you don't just want discount in your tool belt. It's not just discount, 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 discount at any cost. You've got to learn to do this properly, which is pretty simple to do when you've got the right guide. So the 4 things you want to write down is, what discount are you getting on the property? What's the cash flow going to be? That's number 2. What's the cash flow going to be? It needs to be a great cash flow. Number 3, what's the capital growth going to be in the area? And I'll tell you how to check that. And number 4, what's the demand? What's the demand? If you advertise this property to rent before you buy it, what's the rental demand? If you've got good answers to those 4 questions, then you're going to be in a much better position than if you only have an answer to the first question, which is what I have. How do you find the answers to all 4 questions? I'll show you how to answer all 4 of those questions in this 4-part video series. So make sure you watch all the videos. Once you've seen the property and you can answer the 4 investor questions, then you can make an informed decision about buying it. When you buy in the right area and you rent to the right tenants, you reduce your risk of this happening, these disasters happening, to almost 0. Now, the good news is, since that being my second property, for those of you that don't know, I've gone on to buy over 200 properties for myself in my own portfolio, and we've helped our done for you clients, which this isn't about, to buy over 1,300 houses. So I know what it takes to successfully invest in property. The good news as well is that these strategies that I'm teaching you in this 4-video series is not just about family-let properties. I have a handful of HMOs. I've owned HMOs now for 20 years and been invested in HMOs for the last 20 years. I've got holiday let properties that make me £25,000 to £30,000 per house of profit each and every year. Okay, we're just buying our 4th and our 5th of those. The first 3 make us already £87,000 a year on average. Okay, and I've got service accommodation, a handful of service accommodation properties that I have in the portfolio as well. So I know what it takes to successfully invest with all these different strategies and how to source for all these different strategies as well. But remember what I said at the start of the video. With my golden rules, your houses will put 4 times more money in your pocket and they will be easier to manage. Now you know some of the horrors of what can go wrong when you buy the wrong house in the wrong area. I know you're not going to be as stupid as me. You're not going to not view it, but you might have just been driven by discount, for example. I need to tell you that the first 10 houses that I bought between Mark and me, Mark was my business partner at the time, were all pretty much disasters. They cost me hundreds of pounds in mistakes, or thousands, or a couple of times tens of thousands. I've shared one of those examples. Those first 10 houses almost made me quit property, and many would have done, because it was too hard and too stressful, and it was someone else's money. Then I learned from my mistakes and from other more successful property investors. I believe in mastery, finding the best in the world you can, or the best in the UK you can, and go find out what they're doing. If they're getting world-class results, you're going to get great at worst, aren't you? Or probably really awesome if they're getting world-class. If you learn from someone that's getting average results, guess what results you'll get? Poor. If you see someone getting good results, you're going to get average results. So I need to learn from world-class. You need to learn from world-class. And what I was able to do was create a set of golden rules by learning from these people to buy world-class properties. I just copied what they did. Houses that profit from cash flow plus 2 other ways as well. So your portfolio has 4 times more money in your pocket in profit without any of the headaches. And the next 7 houses we then bought, we bought these first 10 duffers. These next 7 houses that I bought with Mark were all buy-to-let houses, bought to my golden rules, and those 7 houses alone made Mark and I financially free. Just 7 of the right buy-to-let houses meant that Mark and I could quit our jobs and never worry about money again. Now, as it happened, Mark wanted to quit his job. I was in my early to mid 30s. There's no way I was quitting. And if Layla, my wife, was sat here next to me now, she'd say, Aaron will never give up. He loves what he does. And I do. So I went into build businesses and do lots of other things. But the point is, we could quit our jobs at that point and live from our property income for the rest of our lives. So in a moment, I'm going to walk you through my golden rules so you can buy world-class discount deals that put 4 times more money in your pocket at the most profitable time in over a decade. But first, I promise to show you the 4 ways that property puts money in your pocket. These are worth writing down because people miss most of these. The first way that property puts money in your pocket, obviously, is cash flow. Cash flow. It's the most obvious and what most people focus on. A good investment property must pay the mortgage and cover all the costs and put money in your pocket every month through cash flow. The problem with only focusing on cash flow is this makes passive income strategies like buy-to-let look like a waste of time, because if that's putting £100 or £200 a month in your pocket, you're going to need a heck of a lot of those to get financially free. And that's why most people look to cash flow, or what I call job strategies, such as house of multiple occupation, often called HMO. And I know that I was attracted to HMO as a strategy because I wanted £1,000 monthly cash flow over £200. But that was before I discovered how to make buy-to-let houses, for example, profit from the other 2 ways, so that they give you a great property income with much less work than HMOs. You know, we've had these HMOs now for 20 years. We know exactly how to run them. They're still miles more work. And if we were buying again, we wouldn't have bought them. Okay? Doesn't mean it's not a great strategy. Not saying it doesn't work, but my preference then isn't HMOs. I've got other strategies I prefer. What's the second way that property puts money in your pocket? It's the discount on purchase. So we've got cash flow and the discount on purchase. Back in the wild, wild west days of 2005, 2006, you could do something called same-day remortgaging with Mortgage Express. You could buy the house that's worth 100k, you could buy it for 85k in the morning for cash and refinance it in the afternoon because it was worth 100k and borrow 85k back. You in effect got all your money back and you got the house for free. They were amazing times back then. But the credit crunch understandably put an end to this. Yeah, they put an end to this because now you can't refinance for 6 months. You can buy the house at discount, but you need to wait 6 months before you can refinance. So you couldn't get all your money straight back out again, straight back out. So it's still a strategy people use to buy at discount, buying at discount. I'd rather have something at discount than not have it at discount, okay? But it's not the be all and end all. The third way that property puts money in your pocket is equity growth. As you know, house prices go up over time. In fact, since 1969, house prices have risen on average 8.5% a year. Over the last 80 years, they've risen on average 7.9% a year, 90 years now, actually. So if you buy a house in an area that gets at least the national average in house price growth, then your portfolio profits from cash flow and equity growth. Now, if you're thinking, well, I can't eat equity, what's the point in the property going up in value? That doesn't pay the bills, that doesn't feed the kids. The money's trapped in the house until I sell it. Let me tell you about the fourth way that property puts money in your pocket. The fourth way property puts money in your pocket is refinancing the property. When you buy a house below market value and you refinance it 6 months later at the true market value, then the banks give you the equity as a tax-free lump of cash. The reason why most investors focus so much on buying property at discount below market value is they think the only time you can refinance a property to get the money out is when you've just bought it and 6 months later. But the truth is, if you buy a house in an area that gets at least the national average house price growth, they go up on average 8.5% a year. And if you can buy a house in the right area, then you'll have high tenant demand as well, so you can increase your rents by 3 to 5% a year. Let's assume the market only goes up 5% every single year, and you increase the rent 3 to 5% a year. You're getting more cash flow, and you've got that equity growth. As long as you're increasing your rents every year, the bank are going to allow you to refinance the property again. Well, that £100,000 property becomes worth £110,000 over the next couple of years. They'll let you take 75% of that 10,000 increase back out into your bank account, tax-free cash. 7,500 in that example of tax-free cash over a couple of years. This is a fourth way of benefiting from your property. It's the combination of equity growth and refinancing, the increased rent pays for the increased borrowing, that makes your portfolio 4 times more profitable than cash flow alone. If you're buying just for cash flow, you're totally missing where you need to be. This only works though when you buy the right houses at the right price. And if you're buying the right houses at the right price, then you'll get a great discount on purchase. The house will profit from cash flow and equity growth and have strong tenant demand. When you've got strong tenant demand, you can choose the tenant. You can also ask for guarantors if you're unsure about the tenant. And it also means you can confidently ask them to leave if they can't pay the rent because you'll easily rent it again. When you attract better quality tenants, what I call lifer tenants, then they'll stay in your house for 5 years or more and look after it like it was their own. Lifer tenants make your portfolio much easier to manage. So how do you buy these magic houses that put 4 times more money in your pocket? The short answer is you buy houses to my golden rules. Let me show you what they are and how to use them. What I'm going to do is cut to a video I recorded when I could have a videographer in the house. So we'll cut to that video right now and I'll see you afterwards. But I'm going to teach you these golden rules to only ever buy world-class properties. These are mandatory. Write them down. Write them down. I'll see you back here shortly. So what I want to teach you now is what I call my 6 C's. My 6 C's are the golden rules to make sure you only ever buy world-class investment properties. And it took me till I bought
40 or 50 of these. Now, don't get me wrong, after my first 10, I committed to mastery. I started learning from experts and getting myself in the right place. And, you know, my number 10 to 50, I was doing all right. You know, by property 17, we were able to be financially free if we wanted to. We didn't know we need to work if we wanted to, etc. But I was still making mistakes. I was still buying the wrong houses, or they weren't performing anywhere near as they should. And it wasn't until I sat down and studied this in detail and really studied it that I came up with my 6 C's. And every house I've bought since, I've got over 200 in my portfolio, helped our clients to buy over 1,000, has to meet these rules. If it fails just one rule, it gets rejected. So what are the rules, I hear you shouting? Well, here's rule number 1. Capacity. C for capacity. Okay, what do I mean by that? If you're buying, these are the rules, by the way, for family-let properties. In video 3, I taught you a number of different strategies, okay, and I chose you to choose one. If your strategy isn't family-let, you need to go find out these rules, learn these rules from a master. I can teach you them, but I'm not doing it on this video. But learn the rules to make sure you buy world-class properties in that strategy. I'm covering right now family lets. So if we go for C for capacity, what do I mean by that? If you're going to get a family let off the nose of buy-to-let, you need it to be a 3 or a 4 bedroom house. Not a flat, not an apartment, not a 2-bed. People say, why not? You get a 1-bedroom flat, somebody moves in it, then they fall in love with someone in that 1-bedroom flat, they move out and move in with them. Okay? That's now a problem for you. You've got an empty property again. You get a 2-bedroom house, somebody moves in with 1 child, they get pregnant, they now are having another child, they need a 3-bedroom house, they move out. And you end up with what I call transiency and transient properties. On average, a tenant change costs you £1,500. That's £1,500 each time the tenant changes. If you lose the tenant once a year, over 10 years, that's a £15,000 problem. If you've got 10 of those properties, that's a £150,000 problem you've now created for yourself. Okay? All because you bought the wrong houses. If you buy the right 3 and 4 bedroom houses that meet the rest of my rules in a moment as well, and you get someone who says, do you know what, I want to live here forever. My mum lives down the road, my uncle, my auntie live up the road, my kids are at the local school, I want to live here forever. You get what I call a lifer. They may not stay forever, but they're going to stay long term. When the door handle breaks, a lifer fixes the door handle. Yeah? When the property needs painting, a lifer rings you up and says, can I paint it? You buy them the paint, they paint it, they decorate it. They stay for life. You don't get that transiency. At the Insight Group, our average tenancy is over 5 years because we buy the right houses. Okay, so we're not paying that £1,500 each year. It's every 5 years or more. And they've done the repairs along the way, so we've saved money along the way as well. So you need to make sure you're buying 3 and 4 bedroom houses. What's the second C? The second C is C for city. What do I mean by city? Well, let me give you an example. And I'm going to give you a Yorkshire-based example. I used to live in Yorkshire. I'm in Wilmslow now, shooting this in Wilmslow in Cheshire. But I used to live in Yorkshire. And when I went out my front door, if I drove about 30 miles, I'd arrive in York. And whether you know York or not, you'll know it's a picturesque place, a cathedral and all that stuff. In York, for £150,000, you'll buy a 3-bedroom house, and it will rent for about £700 a month-ish. Okay? 3-bedroom house. If I went out my front door and went in another direction into Scarborough, North Yorkshire, with my £150,000 house money, I could buy 2 houses for £75,000 each. So I've spent the same amount of money, but I've got 2 properties now. 3-bedroom houses, and they rented out for £560 a month. So now I'm on £1120 a month income from my 2 properties, whereas in York I'm on £700 a month from my property. Now, I know over time that properties go up the same. If York goes up 7% this year, next year Scarborough's going to go up 6 to 8%. If York goes down 2% this year, next year Scarborough will go down 1 to 3%. But over time, they go up the same. So if over time my investments are going to go up the same, I know what I'd rather have in the meantime. I'd rather have the 1120 of rent rather than the 700 of rent. I'm making an extra 420 a month, which is an extra £5,000 a year while I wait for it to go up. Now, by the way, I'm not telling you to buy properties in Scarborough. There are often, out of the 400 or so we'll buy for our clients this year alone, probably only 5 or 10 will be in Scarborough. There's even better places often to buy. The point I'm making is don't buy just because it's local. Buy for the best return on investment. Get the best town and city that's going to get you the best financial return, and wrap that with an expert team that looks after it so it's a true investment. So you don't have the job of looking after it. So we've got a 3 or 4 bedroom house and we're buying it in the right town or city. What are the next 2 C's? The next 2 are C for capital and C for cash flow. We want capital growth at the table and we want cash flow at the table. You need both. Over time, here is what happens. Early 2000s in the UK, house prices are going up. Okay? Let's say we're in London. House prices are going up. We get to about 2007, 2008. While these house prices are going up, by the way, rents are still going up, but they're going up more slowly. 2007-8, people say, it's too expensive to buy, I'm going to rent. So the house prices slow or even drop a bit. And the rents start going up really, really fast. We get to about 2012. People go, this is crazy. It's more expensive to rent than to buy. So the housing market starts slowing in terms of rental increases. They're still increasing, but slower. And the house price starts booming again, 2012. We get to about 2020, before coronavirus, the London market starts slowing. Still going up, but people going, it's more expensive to buy than rent, I'm going to rent. And the rents have started rising, okay? The point I want you to get is over time, they're both going up. They're not crashing back down. They're both going up. As an investor, I don't care what's happening today. I care that long-term assets go up in value. That's important. But in time, I've either got my asset going up in value, I can refinance it, draw money out and buy more or use it to have a fun time. But when the market's not going up in value, like at the moment with coronavirus, it's going to go down a bit, the rents are going up. Supply and demand, they have to either be buying or they're renting, so I make more cash flow profit. Either way, in every economy around the world, at all times, one or the other is going up. As an investor, I win either way. So if I'm in it for the long term, I know both are going to go up, and I win either way in the meantime. So that's the beauty of this. So how do you make sure you get great capital growth? On average in the UK, for the last 85 years, the property market has gone up on average at 7.9% per year. That's on average. That includes all the downturns, the drops, the falls, as well as the up periods. So if we can get national average, we're in an amazing place. So let's imagine we can't get national average. Let's imagine a model. If you're going to model more cautiously. Model at 4% or 5% to be cautious, okay? But we want to get the national average. How do you get the national average for capital growth? 5 core steps. Step 1, you buy in a town or a city. Minimum population, 80,000 people, okay? If you buy in a village and the local factory shuts down and 100 people lose their job, microeconomics kicks in, property market's not changing for the next 10 years, your money's stuck. So you want to buy in a town or a city, minimum population 80,000. Number 2, buy within 5 miles of the town or city centre. You can measure that by the town hall, the train station, I don't mind, okay? If it's Manchester, Birmingham or London, it's within 7 miles, but otherwise it's within 5 miles always. Number 3, buy within 2 miles of a good or outstanding secondary school. So look at the Ofsted reports, it needs to be good or outstanding, you're within 2 miles and you're in the catchment area. Number 3, good public transport network. You know, in most towns or cities you've got that, bus, trams, trains, whatever it is, but you need to be within striking distance. Don't be the other side of the estate where it's 3/4 of a mile walk. Be within striking distance, good public transport network, and finally, good road network, which towns and cities have. If you meet those 5 rules, I can almost guarantee you'll get the national average as a minimum in terms of growth. And that national average isn't going to be great in the next 3-6 months. But if you learn the skill sets, I covered this in video 1, so that you start buying in 3 or 6 months' time, you're going to be buying at the right price point, then you're going to see the assets go up, and you're going to get great cash flow in the meantime. You might not get great cash flow in the next 3 months while we're all isolated, but once we're up and running again, great cash flow, great asset growth, okay? So that's how you get great capital growth. How do you get great cash flow? Very, very simple formula for you. When you're purchasing a property, let's say you're buying it for £100,000, you want the yield to be at least 7.2%. That means if you're buying it for £100,000, you want the rent to be at least £7,200 per year, which is £600 a month. That's 7.2% of the 100k. At least £600 a month. If it's less rent than that for a £100,000 purchase, you run a mile. If it's that rent or more, you're happy to buy it. And then you do that pro rata. If it's a 200k property, it needs to be at least £1,200, etc. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing you need to consider. That's a very, very simple way of checking that out. If you want to check it out in a slightly more complex way, which is still really simple, you can take the rent that is coming in. So let's say the rent is £650 a month. You knock off the mortgage, you knock off the maintenance cost, you knock off the insurance cost. So in this example, let's say the mortgage was £300, the maintenance cost was £80 a month, and the insurance was £20. So I've got £400 of costs going out in total. £650 coming in, £400 going out. Okay? I've got £250 left. I've got to pay for my letting agent. My letting agent might be £70 a month. Let's say £80 a month. So if I take them off as well, I'm left with £170 a month. That doesn't sound like a lot, £170 a month, okay? But I'm going to be cautious with my mortgage rates. I'm going to be cautious with my refurbishment budget, cautious with my insurance. So that property might be making me about £300 a month, but I've modelled it cautiously, okay? And I'm covering it quickly now. I'll give you a lot more detail later on in this series. So if that property is making me £170 a month, and it was rented for 11 months of the year, let's say, at the end of the year, I'm going to have something like £1,800 in the bank, £1,900. If the property is empty in the 12th month, I've got enough money there to cover the rent for the 12th month. The £650 rent is covered by the profit I've made in the first 11. If you make sure every property you have meets that rule, so that the cash flow it generates, being cautious, times 11 is enough to cover month 12, I never have to put money in this deal again. Once I've bought the asset, it never costs me another penny ever again. How many of those assets would you like? Each month you pull the handle and cash comes out. It never costs you another penny again. You'd like as many as you can get. And then I'll teach you how to, once you've bought the house, get your money back out again to buy more with or go spend on a holiday and have fun with. Now you've got an asset that costs you nothing ultimately. You got your money back out and it makes you money every day for the rest of your life. This is what professional property investors do. This is what you can do if you follow these rules. Let's look at the fifth C. The fifth C is C for check. Most professional investors I know don't follow this C and they still make mistakes. The C for check means before you buy the house, check it will rent first. Check there's a demand for it. You run an advert on Zoopla, in the local paper to advertise the property you're thinking of buying. Of course, you can't show pictures of the very house because you don't own it yet. But you say, look, a 3-bedroom property, Nelson Street, double glazed, gas central heating, £650 a month. And you're checking how many phone calls you make. It's a numbers game. If within that first week you get 10 or more phone calls, people interested, you're going to go ahead and buy, as long as it meets all the other rules. If you get less than 10 phone calls, even if it's only 9, you might have the perfect 3-bedroom house in the right city, right cash flow, right capital growth, but you only get 9 calls. You're walking away. You're deselecting this property. It has to meet every single C fully or you don't buy, because there'll be another house on the next town, the next street that meets all the rules plus this one. So if you get just 9 calls, you're walking away. Here's what used to happen when I first bought properties. I used to buy a house. 5 people would call me interested. 3 people would view it. 1 person would want it. And I used to celebrate. I'd be like, I've got a tenant. In reality, they were the only human being out of 7 billion on the planet that wanted my miserable house. That's how rubbish my house was. Whereas if you run an advert and 20 people are interested, and 10 people view it and 5 people want it, same ratios, 5 people want it, now you can ask for bank statements, references, guarantors, the works. If that puts 1 or 2 of them off, fine, there's still 3 or 4 that want it. Now you're choosing the tenant, they are not choosing you. If that tenant then stops paying the rent or starts trashing your property, you'll deal with them ethically, but if they don't get caught up, you'll get them out. And you'll be totally confident you can re-let it. In my early days, I was scared to get them out. They weren't paying me, they were trashing my property, but I knew if I got them out, I might not get another one. So I stuck with the devil I knew instead of changing it. You've got to have good demand for your property, otherwise you should never buy it. Never buy it. Final piece, the 6th C, contingency. Do not invest in property and put every single penny you've got in the deal and leave yourself with nothing left. What if the boiler breaks? What if there's a problem? So in family let properties, whatever you're going to invest, keep 4.5% of it as a protection buffer. So if you're going to invest £100,000, you put 95,500 down and 4,500 stays in your rainy day bank account to protect the investment. If you're going to invest £50,000, it's still 4.5%. So 47,750 gets invested and 2,250 gets put in the rainy day bank account. You keep if it's $1 million, you keep 45,500 to one side and you put the other 955,000 in. You make sure you're keeping 4.5% to one side to protect your investment. Then you've got your investment up and running. It's making you cash flow profit every month on top. Let's say you've got 3, giving you £200 a month each. It's going up £600 a month every month. Eventually, if a boiler breaks, you've got plenty there to pay for it. And this pot gets bigger and bigger, and then you can buy some more properties. And the properties go up in value, and you can release money from them, and you can buy some more properties. And then you get number 4. You haven't put any of your own money in now. But those 3 have paid for the 4th. Then the 4 go up in value and they make you all profit, and even faster you get number 5. And they go up and even faster you get number 6 because you bought to the right rules. Because you bought to the right rules. So these 6 C's are absolutely business critical. These 6 C's at the Insight Group, when we're investing, we will look at properties that come in with a 15% genuine market discount. And most investors would jump at that. Great, they've got a discount. Because of the other C's, we reject 59 out of 60 of those properties that other people would buy. We say, no, not good enough. And that's how rigorous I want you to be. Now, does this take some effort? Yeah. Does this take some time? Yeah. But you're only going to buy 8, 9, 10 of these babies. So you may as well buy the best ones and get them in your portfolio. And if you learn these skills over the next 2-3 months, so you lock this stuff down and get this stuff in your locker, then when the market is there, that people need your help, they need to sell, the builders need to sell, the people getting divorced or splitting up need to sell, the people who find out, when they need your help, you'll have the skill set to help them and to build that financial fortress for yourself.
Okay, so as you've seen, these are my golden rules to buy world-class properties. Houses that put 4 times more money in your pocket because they profit from cash flow, equity growth, and refinancing. And if you follow these rules, you'll buy in the right area and you'll have a highly profitable and stress-free property journey. As you know, hard-won secrets will not change your life without action. Without action. I said this at the end of video 1, didn't I? Do the training, take the action. Do the training, take the action. You need a multiplication of 2. So I'm going to ask you to take a small action to use these hard-won secrets to change your financial future. Now that you know the golden rules to buy discounted deals that put 4 times more money in your pocket, I'm going to ask you to find the outstanding secondary school in your investment area right now. If you ask my mate Google, you'll find the answers in less than a minute. And then you can look on Rightmove and find the streets that are within a 1.5 mile radius from those outstanding secondary schools, and you've started to narrow down your search. Now, in the next video series, video number 3 in this video series, I'm going to share something that I have never shared with anybody who hasn't invested and paid to be in my event rooms. And this is something I don't do a deep dive on with anybody that's not one of my VIP clients who pay £12,000 plus to be a member of my VIP mentorship group. And this isn't about that. What I'm trying to say to you is come back to video 3, because on video 3, I'm going to be showing you step by step by step how you identify the towns and the cities and then the streets within those towns and cities where you'll get the best possible investment returns. And then how you set up Rightmove alerts so you get out of bed and you've had an email telling you that a house is for sale on the very streets that you want to buy your properties on. This will save you a ton of time. You invest your time once and then you let the software do the work. You know that whenever you get an email, you need to book a viewing, yeah? And unless there's a drugs den downstairs, you'll make an offer. Or you don't even need to necessarily book a viewing, which I'll teach you all about as well later on in this series. So if you'd like to buy more discounted deals with less of your time, then you're going to love the next video. It's phenomenal. And you're going to get that next video in the next couple of days. In the meantime, thanks for watching this video today. I'll see you in a couple of days. Until then, look after yourself, look after the people you love, invest with knowledge, invest with confidence, create financial freedom. I'll see you really soon.